And actually, this happened recently. My kids were sick. I picked them up. My ex was sick. I didn't know, but then she messaged me that she was actually in the hospital urgent care because she was sick getting medicine. And it was interesting because separately, different times during that day, Bo and Max asked me and said kind of aggressively, like, did you know mom's sick? Do you even care that she's sick? I got you, yeah, my crew.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pan and Unicorn, the relationship podcast, episode 10.
Numero 10.
I know, you did not say it in Spanish for episode 9 last
Yes,
episode.
I did.
No,
Numero 9. I did say it.
Check
the camera.
Check the camera. I guarantee you. Watch, we'll do a flip back to the last interview or last episode.
If I'm right, I'm getting something.
Okay, same here.
Great intro. Yeah. We're back. Episode 9. Numero 9. Let's go.
Same here.
And for those of you not watching on YouTube and you're just listening to it on Apple, Spotify, wherever all the podcasts are, how good does Madison look in the pink?
The Pan and Unicorn merge.
Let's go. Looking good in the pink.
I love it. I've got pink, I've got teal, I've got tie-dye. You guys, you have got to check out the website. There's so many great...
PanandUnicorn.com.
And then
Support us.
Send some love out on there
Send some love merch.
So go check it out. Make sure you're following us on all the socials at Pan and Unicorn, like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We got that
Twitter.
Facebook group. We got the newsletter. We've got everything, so it's all down below, but make sure you're following us there. Now, babe, we're going to send some love.
Send some love every episode. Grab your phone, your parents, your sisters, your brothers, your husbands, your wives, your kids, your loved ones. Send them love.
So I just sent some love to my brother-in-law. Like a brother. We bicker at each other and pick on each other like we're siblings. Patrick, he's been taking such good care of my sister. And he's just an awesome husband. So I sent him some love and said, thank you for taking care of my sister. What'd you do, babe?
I shout out my boy Matt B. Matt Behrman lives in Orlando, Florida.
I think Facebook friends
He was on my college tennis team at the University of Florida. So I've known him over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And he and I stayed tight. He was a good friend to me in college, really good friend to me post-college.
That's a green flag with you, by the way, is that you have so many long-term friendships.
Green flag? Is that opposite of a red?
Yeah, that means a go.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know I had a green flag.
Yeah. You have many.
I got some green flags. Let's go, green flag.
Yeah.
And actually, I introduced his wife and him in college. And
really?
They're married and they have two beautiful girls.
How many people have you introduced to one another that got married?
I think three or four.
There's a few, isn't there?
So anyway, Matt's another one of those guys. I got a bunch of them where if we lived near each other, I'd hang out with them all the time. We'd play sports together. We'd play golf together. We'd watch sports together. The kids would play together. I got a lot of those guys around, but it's just hard. I don't see them enough. But I'm hoping as we get older, the kids get older, and this other phase of our life, when we have more time to travel and move around, that I'll hang out with a lot of these friends of mine that I've had for a long time that just haven't spent as much time with them as I would like.
Yeah. Oh, well.
So shout out to Matt B.
Shout out to Matt. Shout out to Pat.
Oh, Pat's great.
Yeah.
Her brother-in-law's great.
Gotta love Pat. But quick recap of episode number 9. It's kind of tough in the beginning. I feel like it was a little rough for me to talk about a lot of those fears and everything. But basically, we were just touching on the fears that our parents had and kind of still have when we told them that we were getting divorced. And separating, from our exes.
Yeah.
And we just basically talked all about that. And we even discussed our fears of if this ever happened to our kids and what we would do and what we would try to help them.
Yeah, look, I think, first of all, shout out to our parents. We are both so lucky. I know for me personally, I have a lot of friends who have lost either one parent or both parents already at a young age. And so I am grateful, thankful every day that my parents are alive and healthy. Madison has great parents. They live near us. They're very supportive. They're healthy. And so we do know how fortunate and how lucky we are. And hopefully it lasts a long time. So it was really nice for us to kind of talk with our parents and kind of get their perspective on the divorce and what they went through and what their fears were. And then I thought it was really healthy for us to have a conversation about like the future and what would we do and how would we handle it. I think it's important for all parents and grandparents to kind of have that conversation of just preparing for it and if it happened and what would we do and how much do we really know about our kids' current relationships and how do we try to encourage those conversations and foster those conversations. And our hope for this podcast is that all of you guys listening, obviously, love it if you guys share it with your friends and loved ones, but also that you take some of this information and maybe it opens up something for you to talk with your parents or talk with your children, just about how they're doing in their relationships and emotionally and mentally. And that was the hope of episode 9.
Yeah, I think we did really well, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Going into today's episode, we're going to basically be talking about how we are currently, because we are still co-parenting, how we are currently navigating co-parenting.
Co-parenting. This is a tough one. I think for anybody out there that either are children of divorce, you guys have a lot of stories about how your parents, co-parented for you and continue to. So drop them in the comments. We want to hear about your experience as your parents, navigated co-parenting. If you're out there now and you are divorced and you have children, how are you navigating co-parenting? It's a super hot topic. It's something that Madison and I could probably talk about on, every other episode for the next, whatever it is, 20 years, right? Yeah. Co-parenting never ends. So we've kind of been both co-parenting about the same amount of time. We've gone through a lot of roller coasters with both of our exes. And so we just thought this was a good kind of 10th episode to kind of recap where we are, what we've learned, what we're doing. And we'll probably do another co-parenting one, maybe in 6 months or a year, just to kind of see like where we are at and how things have changed.
Exactly.
But today's episode is all about co-parenting and basically our story, not really giving other people advice, just what we've been doing.
What we've been through and what have we've seen that works for us and what hasn't worked for us and that we've learned. And we're just sharing our experiences. So it's like basically getting into the very beginning of it. It's something that we need to all really remember is when you get divorced, there's so much hurt. There's so much anger. There's so much disappointment, resentment, animosity. There's all these really negative feelings that you have towards this person. And it makes it really hard to co-parent with them. So one thing that I wish I really established in the beginning is basically boundaries. And, really treat, and this is what I learned from Ross of how to treat it. He goes, you have way too much emotion in this. He goes, you need to treat it more like a business relationship. And that's kind of what it sucks that you don't really want that with your co-parent because you want to do what's best for the kids and show happy and healthy and stuff. But in the beginning, when everyone is still so hurt and still trying to heal from everything, setting that boundary of having more of a business professional relationship with your co-parent where you just strictly keep it about the kids, it makes things better. So then that kind of gives you each other your time to both heal and move on. What do you think?
I think that for anybody who has never not gone through this or never been through it, it's hard to kind of fully put yourself in that situation. But what I'm going to try to explain is the duality is tough because you get separated or you get divorced. And that's assuming that you don't absolutely hate each other. One person didn't try to like kill the other person or put them in jail. So there's not like, I never want to talk to them again. I don't hate them. Your natural instinct for the children is, how can we pretend like there isn't the pain, the resentment, the anger, the animosity? How can you pretend like it's not there? And we try to show the kids that we don't hate each other, and we're still going to be friends, and we're still going to work this out. And in reality, that sounds good in theory, but I actually don't think that's what's best, because one person in the relationship is going to have more anger than the other, more pain than the other, more resentment than the other. Just everyone, it's just going to be off balance in different areas. And so ultimately, you can't really have that relationship when you have all that emotion. One person's trying to move on, the other person's trying to get the other person back. One person's moved on faster than the other person. It's just really messy and complicated. And so I think the sooner you say, okay, we're moving on, we're going to have a relationship strictly about the kids, which is hard, which means you're not asking them about their dating. You're not asking them about their work like you used to. You're not asking them about their friends, about their family. You're not having this emotional connection and relationship. You have to set boundaries with where you live, which is hard. You know, I lived in the house my children live in for many years. You know, I did the bedtime routines, everything. Like, that house was my house. Now, my ex doesn't allow me to go near the house. It was hard for her to see me at the house, near the house, in the house. And so I don't go there. We do drop-offs and picks-ups at a neutral location.
It sucks because it ends up being really hard on the kids too, because a lot of the kids, the Bo and Max, they asked for you to come over so they could show you the animals, show you their room and everything. And so that's what thing that's so tough about it. It's like, it sucks that, like, you know, boundaries, yes, need to be put there, but then also it's like, can we just freaking suck this up and do what's best for the kids if this is what the kids want? Like, can we put our feelings aside?
And that balance is really difficult. And so I think that although it was hard for me to not be at their house, not go there anymore, not see them, and that they want it, I understand it. And ultimately, it's actually better for the kids if they understand that moving forward, no, I won't be coming back. I can't do sleepovers. I'm not going to be at their house anymore. That's mom's house. She's moving on with her life. I have my place, and, they come to my place. And so I think over time, you can kind of reverse it. So I would say in the beginning, move as fast as you can to the business relationship, and later, after the anger, the pain, the resentment, and everyone has moved on, and everyone's happy in their own new life, which might take many years. Once everyone's happy and moved on and accepted everything, and all the financials are in place, and all the schedules are in place, and everything with the kids, and the kids are accepted, I think you can then go back to more repairing that friendship and going back to, showing the kids that you're closer, having more of a relationship with your ex, asking questions more about how is your family, or how are your friends, or how is your work, or how are things with your current girlfriend or boyfriend. But I would say something that we both struggled with in the beginning was navigating that. And we both did it wrong. I don't think dinners with both parents are good in the beginning, which we did. I think it's just, it seems like that would make the most sense and that would be best for the kids. But I think there's a way to tell the kids nothing negative about the ex, that the ex and I are, and your mom, your dad, we're in a great place. We're friends. We're always going to co-parent. We don't hate each other. There's no anger. You tell them everything to make sure that they understand that things are good. But at the same time, you continue to move this relationship where you were with them every day, talking every day, all day about everything, and get it into that business relationship, just about the kids as fast as possible.
Yeah, I agree. But don't you think, though, it's good for the kids every once in a while to see, like, if their mom and dad are in the same room, or seeing that their mom and dad are together at, like, activities, or see that mom and dad do have, like, a dinner, like, where you go to a restaurant together?
I think restaurant, no. I think that creates confusion for the children, and it's something like that. But where I would agree is, like, Bo had a thing at school.
Is that, like, because you used to do that with your ex all the time?
Not all the time.
You did it a
but
lot.
In the beginning, we did it.
You did it up until past the summer. No, before the summer, before Minnesota.
I was traveling a lot, but I would say twice a month we were doing it. And
like you guys
I
did.
said it was a mistake.
Yeah, because I know.
So,
but I just remember you guys did it like after like Max's soccer, where you guys all went to Rubio's together.
Yeah, we tried it. And so going back to soccer is a good example. Like, I think if your child has soccer, I think if both parents are there, it's best if they sit next to each other, because the kids will see it and they'll pay attention if they're apart. But if they sit next to each other, say hello, be nice, but just keep it at that. And if you have stuff to talk about the kids, talk about it. Kids' school, kids' activities, kids' teachers, trips, just it's fine, talk about it. So the kids can see that you guys are fine. Bo had a thing at school. It was some, performance, singing thing. And, I was there, my ex came in, and like my ex didn't sit near me. And I was like, that just it's not a good picture for Bo.
Yeah.
Like, just come sit next to me.
He's so aware.
Yeah, just come sit next to me, and we can not even talk, but just sit next to each other, say hello, fine.
Yeah.
That at least shows the kids like, oh, okay, they're fine. They don't know what we're talking about anyway.
Exactly.
And so I think that, again, those are good settings to kind of reiterate to the children that they're okay, that their parents are okay, that their parents don't hate each other in an appropriate way. That's, best for co-parenting in that kind of that first year, that first 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. And that kind of like brings us into like tips for how to treat each other in front of the kids. And I think this is so important because, again, like how Ross was saying, when you go just sitting down next to each other at a school activity, they're observing it all. They notice it all. Kids are smart. They pick up on those things. They pick up the way that your mannerisms are with the person. They pick up the way that you are talking and what your tone is with them. And I think it's so important to treat the other parent with respect during the drop-offs and the pickups. I think it's so important to smile. Like when you're doing FaceTime with the kids, the other parent, fucking smile. Like, like be nice and be warm, and because the kids pick up on that. They can sense if it's going to be cold. Ask, I know like it's like the whole setting boundaries of not asking questions, being like, oh, how are you doing? Great. And then be like, oh, Riley, like tell dad about what you did at school today. Like engage with those conversations. Just don't just put the phone in front of the kid. I mean, like,
yeah. And on that note, while you were talking, two things popped into my head. One, even if you're not divorced, all parents should do this, right? Like, parents, like when you're in front of your kids, smile, be nice, be warm, show your kids what good relationships look like, give them a kiss, give them a hug, ask them how they're doing. Just because you're divorced doesn't mean you shouldn't be acting this way all the time in front of your kids. Yeah. Fighting in front of your kids isn't good. Being cold in front of your kids isn't good.
See, I actually read a really interesting thing because I that's, me, I'm like really big about not fighting, not having tension in front of your kids. But I read this really good thing that they said that you actually should not hide all conflict from your kids. They said what you should do as parents or as co-parents or even just relationships is, if we do have a disagreement, show how we came to a resolve, a healthy way. So that way it teaches them how to resolve conflict. And they can see, oh, conflict can be resolved and handled in a mature and nice way, and you guys can like kiss afterwards.
Kiss after, hug after. Say, okay, I hear you. Understand.
That was a really good example, because I was like, I've always been so much about not fighting in front of the kids. I'm like, oh, well, that would teach them how to resolve conflict, how not to avoid, how not to just avoid it and not deal with it.
That's
push
a
it
tough
underneath
one.
the rug.
That'd be the ultimate parenting.
Yeah.
where you can have an argument, the kids see it, and then tell the kids and show the kids that you made up, and then tell the kids after, hey, mommy and daddy had a little argument. This is what we were fighting about, but this is how we resolved it.
They see it,
and
though.
after we're done, we figured it out. We kiss, we hug, we tell each other we love each other.
Show it to them. Don't tell them. Show it to them.
Okay.
That's what they're saying, is to show it. Because kids learn from modeling what we model to them. Kids pick up the way that we talk. Kids pick up our mannerisms. And that's why they say it's so important to show them good behavior, show them ways to resolve conflict in a healthy way, because that's how they learn. They learn from modeling.
So that point that I wanted to make was it should be for parents who not necessarily co-parenting, but just parenting. And then the second thing that you talked about is like on the FaceTimes and stuff is that, yes, the kids do pick that up. Again, parenting of co-parenting or just normal parenting, the kids pay attention to that. And so they will say like, why didn't you say goodnight to mom? Why didn't you say hi to mom? Why didn't you do those things? And so it's really important that when you're communicating with the kids and the parents are around, that you model that.
Yeah.
And, have a good day. So if I'm, in the morning and, my ex FaceTimes the kids, they're done. All right, have a good day or have a good night.
Yeah.
Like that's not that hard. It takes just a second. And then the kids
But it's
see
also, it's your tone.
Yeah, tone.
Like, it's not even just don't fake it. Like, it's your tone. They sense it. Be like, okay, have a good day. Now you can be like, okay, I hope you have a great day, and smile.
And actually, this happened in recently. My kids were sick. I picked them up. My ex was sick. I didn't know, but then she messaged me that she was actually in the hospital urgent care because she was sick getting medicine. And it was interesting because separately, different times during that day, Bo and Max asked me and said kind of aggressively, like, did you know mom's sick? Do you even care that she's sick? And it was interesting, like, hear their feelings. And it was kind of lucky that I could reply, actually, yeah, your mom and I, we've been messaging all day. I know she was in the hospital. I know she's getting medicine. I know she was dehydrated. I asked her if she needed anything. And Bo was like, good. I'm glad. And then Max was like, something like, yeah, she's doing better, but the point being, they pay attention to all that.
They pay attention to everything, and they pay attention to I think that's another thing as a parent, you should see, why are they thinking this? Why are they feeling this way? You have to really address, okay, like what's going on in the situation that's making them feel this way.
And it's natural. Like they want me to care about their mom and like their mom and be friends with their mom and treat their mom well.
Yes.
And vice versa. Okay. So I will say this for me, and I've said this to a lot of people, the hardest part about co-parenting, and I know this has come up in some other podcasts in different forms that we've done, but by far the hardest part is the control. And, as an athlete growing up in multiple sports and having different coaches, I heard so many times, worry and focus on what you can control. You can't control the weather. You can't control what the other team does. You can't control what the refs do. You can't control. There's just so many things that are out of your control. So just focus on what you can do, what your team can do, and try your best. And it sounds so good in theory, and it sounds so good theory in life, in business, in every aspect. Just focus on what you can control. You can't control your competition in business. So focus on what you can do. And when it comes to your children, the people and the humans and the kids you love more than anything, and for most of your life that you've known them, you've been able to control pretty much what they wear, what they eat, when they go to sleep, who they're around, just all these different details. And all of a sudden, for the time you're not with them, you lose that control. That is by far what makes co-parenting so difficult. And it is going to take time. It is not going to happen easily. It's not going to happen quickly where you give up that control. And you're okay with that. And understanding it's hard for your ex as well. And so your ex is now worried about what they're wearing, what they're eating, what they're sleeping, if they're sick, what's happening. By far, that control and figuring out how to kind of just give it up and understand you can. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. It's probably one of the hardest things as a mom that I had to really come to terms with, and I'm still coming to terms with. But I say as I let go over the last year, it's helped a ton. And it sucks because, I mean, a lot of people that follow me, they're like, they'll see once I get the girls back, it's a lot of times they're sick and stuff. And they're like, why are they always coming home sick? And I'm like, I'm at a loss. Like, I can't control what's going on over there. And it used to just bug me, and it just sucked. But I had to let go of it, and I'm still working on fully letting go of it. But it makes you a lot more happier as a parent because, I mean, again, like, there's nothing I can do. They're not going to listen to you. You can't just sit there and dictate everything that they do. They're going to do their own thing. And that's why the best thing that I found was finding a hobby and keeping myself busy, either with work or pickleball. That's why I did it, was because it helped me cope with it. And that's why I always tell people, and we've talked about this in past podcasts, about just trying to find something to help you cope with those times that you don't have your kids, so then you're not stressing the whole time. And then also, if you have family members or friends or anyone like, asking you questions about how the kids are with your ex and blah, 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 it's kind of also just to be like, just also relate it to them and say, hey, like, it sucks. I can't control what they're doing. And I've got, it's like that obviously is a lot of guilt on me. But right now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to separate myself from it. And I'm trying to just keep myself occupied because it's not something I can control.
Yeah, and I think along those lines, like, so when your co-parent doesn't listen to you, doesn't take your advice, you express your fears, your concerns about your children to them, how do you handle it?
Well, I've done that, and it still doesn't really get quite well. It's kind of helped actually, because the first time when he didn't listen to me about taking them to doctor, and they ended up having double ear infections, and then the second time he actually took it to the doctor. So he learned from that lesson, which was great, and that showed me, okay, well, there's some growth here. But it's hard. I mean, how do you handle it? Because I know, like, we can't always trust what our co-parent is telling us. Like, we can address some issues, be like, hey, we're kind of concerned about this. And they're like, are you doing this routine? Are you having sit down dinners or whatnot? And they're saying, yeah, we are, but they're obviously not.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
It's tough. And I think that, God, such a balance between the kids and the co-parent. And I think what was interesting was that a lot of the co-parenting videos on YouTube went to the negative, which is like, what do you do when your co-parent is a narcissist? What do you do when your co-parent is a liar? What do you do when your co-parent, is, trying to get your attention or degrade you or get a rise out of you? And I think my first answer to all of that is that your co-parent is not making you angry. Your co-parent is not making you frustrated. Your co-parent is not making you have these feelings. Essentially, you're in control. You are the one that makes you angry. You are the one that's getting frustrated. You are the one that's getting sad. And so, although that's really difficult to hear, it's a really important life lesson, which is all these things going on in your world and in your life are making you feel this way.
Well, it's like what we tell kids all the time: control your emotions.
Right.
So it's like we should be doing the same, but what's really makes it hard is if you see that it's affecting
your kids. Exactly. That's what I just said. It's the hardest thing is that it's affecting your kids, and that makes it so difficult. And so I think understanding that it's part of it, understanding that, look, as the kids get older, they tell you more. So they'll tell you what each other are doing. They're not always truthful. the kids. And so then the parents go back and forth. Your son said this, your daughter said this. Did this happen? Did this not happen? You never really know, because the co-parent is going to say, I never said that. The co-parent's going to say that's not true. They're going to get defensive, and vice versa. And so I think ultimately understanding that as fast as you can, which is, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
We are going to choose love, and we're going to put the kids first.
But what do you do when your co-parent doesn't do that?
All you can do is understand that you don't control it. You can voice your opinion in the nicest way possible. I think you explain, hey, this is my thoughts, or this is my feelings. Ultimately, you got to do what you're going to do anyway. But just so you know, this is how I feel. Yeah. Hopefully we can be on the same page about it. It's extremely difficult, but over time, that's what you got to try to do. And I think that it comes to, over time, having that relationship, building that trust as co-parents. I think that it's so hard in the beginning, because you have so much anger, so much resentment, so much pain from your relationship, that it gets muddied into the children.
Yeah.
And trying to get your co-parent to separate the two. And it's just hard. You have the conversations. I mean, my kids have told me things that my ex has said to them. There's just no way they made it up.
Yeah.
And then what do? All I can do is then go back to my ex and say, hey, just so you know, the kids told me you told them this. 99% chance she's going to deny it. 99% chance to get defensive. But at least she knows that I'm not happy about it, and the kids are repeating what she's saying, and hopefully that doesn't continue.
Yeah.
And I know she's saying it not to hurt the children, not to do what's, the wrong thing for the children. I just know she's mad at me. She's angry at me. She's hurt. She's frustrated. And unfortunately, it came out that way to the kids.
Yeah. Okay, so one comment that I saw in one of our previous episodes, they were saying that they wanted us to get someone on here that went through a high conflict divorce, where you have a high conflict co-parent, and where no matter how many boundaries you set, no matter how mature you're being about it, they still just try to find ways to hurt you, and either through the kids or through the way that they speak to you, anything. So, babe, I have a question. What do you do in those types of situations? Because,
look, like I said, that was most of the content on co-parenting. Is my co-parent is abusive. They're a narcissist. They lie. They manipulate. They're gaslighting. They're taking it out on the kids. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And man, I just can't imagine how hard that would be. The pain, the struggle. I mean, luckily for us, we have issues with our exes, but we know that they will take care of the kids, love the kids, and do what's best for the kids.
Yeah.
If that isn't the situation, how you give up the control. Honestly, I think at that point, you're probably getting attorneys involved, and you're going through all the stuff you can to say, hey, and look, I have some friends that have some really, really crazy exes, and they do all the pickups and drop-offs in a neutral location. They film all neutral, all pickup and drop-offs. They do it in places where there's cameras.
Well, there's some, like what we spoke to one of our friends, they did it at the police station because there's cameras there and everything.
Yeah. And then if anything happened, the police are right there.
Yeah. And
so they had to do all pickups and drop-offs at the police station if they weren't dropping a kid off at school.
That's
and
actually
then someone else picking them up.
Piece of advice. If you with your co-parent, if you're really concerned about how things are with the pickups and drop-offs and stuff, start doing them at a police station. I think that's like a really good piece of advice right there.
Yeah.
Because our friend actually did it, and an incident actually happened, and he was able to use the video recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that in general, neutral location pickups are best. And it starts a routine for the children early on, is to let them know that like when we swap, it's always at the same location. If the kid's like, why are we here? Like mom's picking you up, dad's picking you up. It just makes it much easier for the children. I think it's awkward if, you know, you shouldn't be going into their place. Like you should be moving on. They shouldn't be coming into your place.
Well, I see. That's the funny thing is in my situation, which is hilarious. So, my ex we do the pickups and drop offs at each other's houses, and it's usually more so at mine because the way that things land. But he comes in and we talk a little bit, and he even talked to my mom a little bit the last time, and everyone was nice to each other, but I'm never allowed to go into his place ever. Like I even remember asking him in the very beginning, because like I've been over there before in the past, like briefly. And I was like with Kinsley and I had the cleaners coming to my house. I'm like, I have nowhere to go. And he's just like, no, you can't be at my place. Like, no, you can't be at my place. And I'm just like, I let you hang out with the girls at my place all the time. Like, what is the situation here? But it's like that's his boundary. And I didn't have the same, but I don't know. It's like, that's hard. That's hard because I'm trying to just make it as happy and easygoing as I can for the girls. So
and
like
look,
I'm not doing it.
But in your specific situation, you tried to be nice and you give. Then he takes, and then you wonder why. And I, for a year have been like, you need boundaries. You need to stop doing this. And Madison has slowly been able to set those boundaries and slowly, do it. But
it's hard for me to be mean like that. Like I can be mean, but it's hard for me to do that because I just, I have a big heart and I also have sympathy for the person.
Right. And look, that's all what makes co-parenting difficult, right? Is, Madison feels like she's helping him and giving him X, Y, and Z, and he's doing nothing back in return. And I'm like, well, wasn't that your entire relationship? Like, why would things change now?
I know.
And ultimately, how he speaks to her is disrespectful, and she doesn't put up that boundary. So she just lets him continue to speak disrespectfully to her and then lets him in the house. And like that's...
Well, he doesn't do it in front of the girls all the time. So...
Shouldn't do it ever.
Yeah.
Like, that's the point. And so I think that, that co-parenting part of it is difficult. I mean, what would you say to the audience that's listening? Like, what are your biggest struggles in your current co-parenting? What would you say?
A mutual respect that's our biggest struggle, is that I feel like I've given and done a lot of what he wanted in situations, and I feel like I haven't been reciprocated with the same respect. I think that's our biggest issue, is that there's not mutual respect. But it's hard because I was talking to my friend Annie about it, and like she says, I can also kind of feel for him in the situation because he screwed up. And he's probably now coming to terms with everything, and he lost a lot. Like she's like, he walked away from a lot, and he's trying to do whatever he can to move on. It's just needs to find a healthier way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel for the guy. I mean, just putting my guys in the guy's shoes. I mean, hence the unicorn. He lost the unicorn. He lost his two girls. He lost the house. He lost your family. Threw it all away for, whatever reason he did. So yeah, but that doesn't condone or give him an excuse to, and nor should you let him.
Yeah.
Continue to treat you with disrespect, say anything disrespectful about me, about you, about your family. That just shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah. I know. I agree.
And so that's obviously an issue that we've struggled with.
Yeah, with you. So how, because we've dealt with things with your ex, how have you handled, or how are you planning on handling the situations where you basically are being accused of things that are just so far-fetched?
Look, I think, from my situation with co-parenting, and I never know what the truth is or isn't. And that was, part of our entire relationship and still holds now. And I just have accepted it. I've just come to terms with it. It's hard for me, for my children, because I know that she's not always going to be truthful to them. I know she's going to manipulate them. She's going to gaslight them. I'm going to have to talk with them about it. I'm going to have to educate them about it. I'm going to have to explain why that's not the way you want to live your life. And so, ultimately, that's going to be hard for you.
But how do you put that boundary there, though? That if they keep doing it and keep doing it, no matter what, you can't just ignore bad behavior. How do you set a boundary there?
There's no boundary. I talk to her very little, only about the kids. I do think she cares about the kids and wants what's best for the kids. But, if she tells me a conversation she had with my kids' teachers, if she tells me a conversation she had with anybody in their life, I'm already automatically know that it's not all truthful. So you know what I do? I have a call today with my son's teacher.
Yeah.
Because she told me what the kid's teacher said. Maybe it's 100% accurate, but I don't trust it is. So I'm going to call and do my own call with the teacher.
Yeah.
And so that's how I deal with it. Ultimately, that's what's going to happen. And the second part is the financials. And, as you're co-parenting, the financials are always going to be a struggle, not from a lawyer perspective. Madison's really big on MSAs and the lawyers and the courts.
Well, I'm really big on what the rights are of the state.
But at the end of the day, you're still going to have financial conversations and understand that, as an example, if our son really, really wants to go to a camp, or he really, really wants to go on a trip, or he really, really wants these certain shoes, ultimately you have the letter of the law of what should happen and what shouldn't happen and how it should be paid and how it shouldn't be paid. But at some level, if your ex, and for my situation, is like, well, I can't afford it. I don't have the money. What do you do?
It depends on what it is.
And you say, well, you drive a really, really expensive car. You live in a really, really expensive place. You live a really, really expensive lifestyle. But you're telling me that our kids want X, Y, and Z, or need X, Y, and Z, and you don't have money for it.
Yeah.
That's a struggle that all co-parents are going to have. And it's always going to happen. And there's always going to be someone that feels like, hey, that's not fair. I see where you're spending money here and it should be going here. That's hard. The financial part of that and emotional part of that is going to be a challenge. And also, maybe for some co-parents out there listening, you might have the situation where, you would like to take your kids on a trip, or you would like to spend some time with your kids somewhere, and you can't afford it, but your ex does. So your ex is taking them on places and on trips, and you wish you could afford it, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so I think that financial component for me is always going to be difficult. There's not going to be a time in my life where my ex tells me she has enough money, that she can afford something, no matter what it is. And so I'm going to deal with that. I'm also not going to expect that I'm ever being told the truth on anything. So I got to deal with that. And my kids are going to have to deal with that. And ultimately, it's about having that open and honest and conversation as my kids get older.
Yeah.
And letting them know. And you're going to have those conversations as well with your girls as they get older, and understanding what you dealt with and how your ex communicates. And that makes co-parenting for us and our specific situations very difficult.
Yeah. It sucks. It sucks. It just really goes to show how every co-parenting relationship is so different. And I think it'd be really beneficial to get someone else on here that to share their co-parenting experiences too.
And all of you listening that are doing co-parenting, drop in the comments what's working for you, what isn't working for you, what are your hardest struggles with co-parenting. We're trying to learn. We know by far we're not experts in co-parenting. We've all been doing it for a little bit.
But like, share what your difficulties are with co-parenting, but also share what you've learned that has helped make it easier. It's just hard. It's really, really hard. But the thing is like, I think another thing is pretty interesting is how do you keep someone's ex from affecting your relationship? That's like one thing we didn't even like, because co-parenting is about co-parenting, but we're talking about exes. How do we do that?
Well, look, I think it's common.
Because each of our exes have hopped in.
Yeah. So I think it's the situations are different, but I think that in some level, Madison's ex has tried to discredit me and try to destroy our relationship, and mine has tried to discredit Madison and destroy our relationship. Not uncommon, not something that I didn't think would happen. Again, I think it's obviously difficult for both of them to see us move on and for us to be happy and for us to start over this new chapter, this new life, have this podcast, all the stuff you share on social, all the stuff I share on social. So, again, I think it's about communicating. It's about not letting it get to us, not letting them speak, negatively about us, and just understanding. Here's where I'll end it. I'll end the co-parenting. And I think this is just a good kind of a life lesson is, and I've said this to Madison and I try to think about it all the time, which is if our children are literally on our shoulder all day, every day, talking to us and listening to us, are we making them proud? Are we making them feel like we're handling this co-parenting in the best mature fashion possible? And if we can look in the mirror and be like, look, this are the things we've said to our ex. This is how we've treated our ex. This is how we've treated the kids. Here's why we did it. Here's how we did it. And we know, and we can look our kids in the eye and they could say, they would be so proud of us and so proud of everything that we've done for ourselves, for them. That's the only thing that really matters. Yeah. And ultimately, that we can't control what happens at the other person's house and in their life, but we can control what we can control. Yeah. And we're going to set the example.
That's how we act. That's how we model things to them. And I think that's a really good tip. Like if you ever get upset, and I am going to remember this for the next time I get upset or anything with a co-parent or anyone, or just how I handle any situation, I think that's a really good thing. Good tip is to just picture your kids on your shoulders and being like, they're watching me right now. Would they be proud of me?
And I have thought about that. Would I want
them acting like this?
I have thought about that through the entire process. The emails I've gotten from my ex's lawyer, communication I've gotten from her, things that my kids have said to me that my ex has said. I'm always thinking like, if I could take a picture of this, if I could film this, and my kids could see this in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, man, like, they would be, how would they feel? Yeah. And how would this make them feel? And I really try. Not perfect. I made a lot of mistakes. I would tell them, hey, if they were on my shoulder and they said, Daddy, why did you say that? Or why did you do that? I would be okay being like, look, you're right. I'm sorry. Like, I shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake I made. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was upset. You're right. And at the same time, I think about it all the time with all my communication, with everything I do with the children, is just, would they be proud of me, of how I've handled it? And can I look them in the eye and say, look, this is what happened. Here's why it's happened. Here's how it's happened. And I did the best I could. And I think it starts obviously with honesty, which we don't get from both of our exes, and our kids are not going to get. That's okay. Like we got to understand we can't control that. And we're going to do everything we can. And I think that's the best place to leave the co-parenting is just there.
I know. We'll definitely come back and talk more about it in a year, because obviously things are going to greatly change in just a year, especially if we decide to take our relationship to the next level and live with each other. Like things are going to change because we're going to be talking about co-parenting together because we're going to be having 4 kids underneath the roof together. So it will be really interesting to come back and like see where we're at in a year and see how much we've progressed, and hopefully
and I'm hoping that
a lot better.
My hope, and it's kind of, you put this out to the ether. My hope is that we have a great relationship with her ex and his girlfriend or future wife or whatever it is. And I hope that we can have a great relationship with my ex and her future boyfriends or, husbands, whatever. That's my hope.
Yeah.
I think we'll get there. When, I don't know. How, I don't know. What exactly will it look like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think we will get there. I think it'll be great for the kids. And I'm confident in it.
It'd be nice to live in that harmony.
And really just always focusing on what's best for the kids.
Yeah, I agree.
So all of you out there, if you have experience with co-parenting at any level, whether it's you, your kids, your grandchildren, your friends, give us some tips. Give us what your thoughts are.
Share your experiences.
Hopefully, hearing about our co-parenting experience so far
makes you guys feel like you're not alone.
Yes.
That's one thing that I've seen a lot of the same comment from multiple people is saying like, this is such a relatable podcast. It's so nice to hear what you guys are talking about, because now I feel like I'm not alone in this.
And you're not alone. And we're here. Our community is here. And our Facebook group is here.
Facebook group. I believe you can even post, like I know some people don't want to post with their face and their name. I think you can post anonymously. So if you ever just like need help or anything or someone to talk to, post anonymously.
Slowly what we will be doing in the Facebook group is putting up a question, a comment that we get privately, and we will post for the group to help answer.
Yeah.
And so the people that are asking the question can go in and get great feedback from the group.
We'll hide everything.
And support everybody.
Yeah.
So again, thank you guys so much. Hope all of you guys had an amazing holiday and an amazing New Year. And we're going to be off for a couple weeks because we've been traveling. We'll get back probably end of January, beginning of February with all new episodes.
So, babe, real quick, though.
We've got some amazing guests coming on.
We're excited, but I have to ask you because obviously New Year's just happened. What is your New Year's resolution for this year?
It's a good one.
Comment yours down below.
New Year's resolution. Oof. My New Year's resolution would be to find a really, really good, healthy balance between work, relationship with you, the children, and whatever friends, family, social. Like whatever that balance is that we can figure out that works for both of us. That would be my New Year's resolution, is to somehow look back and be like, it was hard, but we figured out an amazing balance that worked on it. Because this year it was a disaster. It was a disaster for me work-wise. It was a disaster for me with socially, with the kids, with friends, with you. It was all over the place. And it was a very trying year.
Yeah. I would say, what was your New Year's resolution last year?
I don't know.
You don't remember? Okay. Well, mine last year was actually focusing on myself. I told myself I really wanted to focus on myself this year in 2022. And I think I succeeded at that, where I put myself first. And then for my next year is now I got to get back on the grind. I got to focus on work. And I agree, the balance is great, and I've always preached that. But I gotta definitely focus on work this.
So does that mean you focusing on work? Meaning your New Year's resolution is to make more money, get more gigs,
My
better work.
is to help make myself more financially stable and to really focus on the type of content that I'm producing on my makeup channel, my beauty channel, my mommy channel. All that stuff is really focusing on getting back to what it used to be. And I know a lot of people comment saying that they miss it. And it just, it's hard juggling everything. And so I guess it would be really being more strategic and bringing it back to what it used to be, like the reviews, the unboxings and stuff. Like
well, I will try and help you with your resolution as much as possible. Mm-hmm. So when you need time to work, I will be with the girls or the kids, and you can go get your work done.
Okay. Thank you, Beb. You're very sweet. I will help you as much as I can with your balance as well.
Thank you. All right. What's your New Year's resolution?
Yeah. Comment them down below. And we love you guys. I hope your 2023
is amazing.
Starting off great.
Yes.
And we follow us over on Instagram at Panna Unicorn. We post a lot over there. On my Instagram, Madison Miller, I post a ton. Ross doesn't really post a ton, so just follow us there and you'll kind of keep up to date. We also are active on Twitter and everything. So just follow us there to keep up to date for the next couple weeks, and then we'll let you guys know when a new episode is going to be out again. We love you. We hope you guys are doing great. If you need any help or support, anyone to listen to, reach out, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Running, hold the line, hanging out the window.